My name is Elinor Scully, and I am the head of the Langley School, and I would like to take a few minutes to share with you why I believe, and the families that attend the Langley School believe, investing in an independent school education is such a terrific investment in your child's future. I also want to spend a little time talking about our school and our unique program and approach to learning, and talk with you a little bit about how families manage to make this experience available to their children. This is me here in the picture with our mascot, Lightening the Leopard. And again, what I hope to cover in this presentation is what some of the research is telling us about early childhood education, some of the unique opportunities that are afforded to families and students at the Langley School, and how a variety of families across our school find ways to manage making the financial investment in our school manageable. Just in case you don't know about us, we are a preschool through grade 8 school located in McLean, Virginia. We are roughly evenly divided between girls and boys in the student population. We have a 7-to-1 student-teacher ratio, which allows for a lot of individualized attention. 37% of the families and students in our school identify as diverse in some way. And it's impossible to sum up our philosophy in a few words, but if I were to try, I would say at the heart of our model is a very powerful student, teacher, and parent-centered program and partnership. One of the things that is fortunate for educators is that there is just so much research out there today that explains what is valuable and meaningful about the early childhood years. And when done right, why an early childhood education can really set the foundation for all future success in school and life. There was a project that was done, a longitudinal study called the Fast Track Project, that tracked kindergartners over a 20-year period. 800 students who were in kindergarten through their young adulthood were studied with regard to some of the capacities that they developed when they were in kindergarten. The ability to work collaboratively with others, to be able to forge productive relationships and partnerships, to be able to solve problems productively. And a lot of these skills and abilities that they developed in kindergarten, the things we think about in kindergarten, sharing, playing well, being a good citizen and member of your class, these behaviors were actually tracked and linked to their performance in school. When they developed these social, pro-social capacities and behaviors, they actually had higher grades, they had higher school engagement, they stayed in school longer, and then all of that yielded adults who were more productively engaged in their lives. So it's kind of a cliche to say that you learned everything you needed to know when you were in kindergarten. But at Langley, we actually believe that the foundation we set in the early childhood years is the thing that leverages future academic success and interpersonal success in life. The other thing we believe passionately at Langley is that a diverse learning environment is a precursor and a precondition to excellence. What we know is that when students learn in an environment full of different types of people that don't necessarily look like they do, don't necessarily share their racial, ethnic, or religious background, that deepens and enhances their critical thinking, their problem-solving skills, their ability to be motivated, engaged in their study, and to be intellectually self-confident because they're leaning into understanding the perspectives of other people. It allows them to question assumptions and to understand the nuances and complexities of an increasingly global and interconnected world. This also allows children to be more open-minded, to be more empathetic, and that actually deepens learning. You're more willing to take risks and support the learning of others if you have that capacity to open your mind and to be empathic. We know that a diverse and multicultural learning environment leads to interracial understanding and to be able to really productively engage different types of people. We know that when our students leave us and go to high school and college and beyond, they're entering a world that is inherently diverse and multi-layered, and we want them to start getting those capacities for relating well under their belt when they're young and when they're in middle school. We track our graduates after they leave us, and we know that they succeed in school and in professional life because of some of the skills and capacities they developed when they were with us in our school community. We also develop an academic program that really focuses on very specific intellectual skills. We know that the ability to write effectively, to express oneself not only in written but in oral communication, to think critically, to have high analytical reasoning and abstract thinking skills, to be able to learn independent of a teacher, to be able to engage deeply without having to be prodded or guided, really are the skills that people need in high school and college, but actually in their jobs in life. What this slide shows you is that the research has been done on students who've attended independent schools as opposed to their public schools. And we think in part due to the nature of our curriculum, which is not heavily focused on standardized tests and other kinds of outcome measures, the small class size with the individualized attention, the differentiated instruction that focuses on the capacities and skills of individual students. All of that allows for these skills to be developed at a higher and more nuanced way for students in independent school environments. So when you think about sacrificing the tuition dollars to make an education like this available, you should look at these bars and think about the gift that you're giving a child of being able to have that kind of foundation, because you just build on it with every succeeding educational experience that you have. We also know that in addition to these cognitive and intellectual skills, there are skills that students need in the workplace. This is a fascinating study that came out of the World Economic Forum a couple of years ago, where they looked at how skills are migrating and changing. And you can see on this slide that in 2015, the top 10 skills looked like they do on the right side. And then just what is predicted by 2020 is there's some shift in what they think workers are going to need in their professional lives. Of course, they're going to need complex reasoning, critical thinking, but also they're going to need creativity. They're going to be needing to think outside of the box and invent solutions to problems that we can't imagine. And they're going to have to do this in work environments where they coordinate with others, where they use their EQ, their ability to relate to different types of people and to have empathy for their colleagues, and use good judgment and decision making. These are often called softer skills. We don't refer to them as softer skills at Langley. We know they're essential, and they're part of a social and emotional program that we develop in our students, because what we know is you ensure academic and intellectual success when you develop these social and emotional capacities in equal measure. And so what this slide, I think, indicates is that people in the work world recognize this, and they want employees who can balance terrific intellectual skill and capacity with these other social and emotional skills. Empathy, of course, if you look at the right side of the slide, is really as important to employers as transparency, profitability, and creativity. That tells us that group work and teams require people who can look out for one another, be respectful of one another, draw out the best skills in others and teams. And so empathy, which we used to think of as sort of a nice to have, is now a must have for the worker of the future. So I just think it's really important for us to think about why a school that starts at the age of 3 and stays with children through their 8th grade year has a leg up at developing these capacities when children are so young. The earlier you do it, the firmer the foundation, the more adept they get at acquiring these skills. And, you think about young learners, they're so eager, they're sponges, and they're optimistic. And so getting these skills embedded before they're teenagers and young adults really is the time to do it. How do we get our outcomes at Langley? Well, we do a couple of things that I think are really essential to our model. We believe that our teachers are at the heart of what makes a difference here. You can't outsource to a computer the teaching of a young child. So the culture of professional development, the way we support our teachers, the way we empower them to creatively invest in their craft as professionals, leads to a talented and tenured teacher who stays at our school. You cannot overinvest in your human resources in education. We also get our class sizes right, so children don't disappear into the woodwork. They are front and center in the scope and the eyes of their teacher. They're known as individuals, and their unique capacities, talents, skills are known by that teacher and can be developed by that teacher, and a host of specialists who have very specific training in literacy instruction, mathematics, understanding cognitive neuroscience. We have a whole team of people, and what that yields is a classroom where the instruction is attentive, kids are responded to on an individual basis as well as the group, and we can differentiate to meet the needs of a student who needs more challenge and more rigorous push, and a student who may need some support as they develop a skill. We have a selective admission process. A few minutes ago I said we need a diverse community full of different types of children from all kinds of background. But we also need them to share our values and to be aligned with our curricular approach. We need them to have abilities that are within a particular range so that we can tailor the instruction in a very specific and differentiated way. And so that a selective admission process allows us to build kind of the school community of our dreams in terms of who's here and how we reach the needs of the children and support their parents. We also are able to invest enormous resources in our extracurriculars. We know that outside of the classroom experience, you learn in band, you learn in music, you learn in athletics, you learn in theater and in electives of your own choosing. So we want a multifaceted, confident, and compassionate student who can explore all of the things that they might be curious about in their schooling so that they don't have to specialize when they're young. They can try a little bit of everything, and that puts them on a path later in school to know what they want to focus on. And obviously, I think this is probably the most important thing for us in terms of where I divert our resources. I can invest in signature programs as the head of this school. I can look at some of the information that I've shared with you today that says there are certain social and emotional skills that the workforce will need in the future, and I can develop and tailor an entire program to developing those skills in our students. We have a director of social and emotional learning. Most schools do not have that position, and she is partnering with our administrative team to create a unique curriculum to develop some of the skills that I've mentioned thus far in this conversation. So that investment in signature programs really does differentiate us from our peer group. So when you think about all of these exciting and wonderful reasons why you might want to consider putting your child at Langley, one of the big things you have to think about as a family is how are you going to make that work? We are so grateful and proud of the families in our school, many of whom make enormous sacrifices to put their child in our school, but also are very creative about how they do that. So a lot of this information that I'm going to share now can be found on our website, and there are resources there for you to go deeper. But here's some things that families think about. Many of them use 529 plans to fund tuition. Due to a recent tax law change, families can now put money tax-free into a 529 plan, and that money can now be used for secondary and elementary education. Previously, it had been geared more for colleges and universities. Now, people can defer some of their income and use it for schooling for younger and younger grades. What we know is investing early has the greatest payoff. So many of our families invest now and even consider a public school or a public university or college, and they use their 529 plan to get there. Financial aid and tuition assistance. We use these terms interchangeably, but really at Langley we think about this as tuition assistance. This is a way to offer families some financial support as they embark upon committing to tuition. We are blessed that we can give out almost $2 million in financial aid annually to families that demonstrate need. 17% of our student body receives some form of aid. And our aid is applied to everything that is included in the experience. So if someone needs to ride the school bus or have an extended day program or take school lunch, tuition assistance is applied in the amount that it is to tuition to those other services. So it is an all-in experience. And we're not hiding fees. There are no other charges that creep up on folks. So you know at the outset what kind of commitment you're making. We have a variety of ways that you can spread those payments out. And it really does make the experience accessible. On the right side of this slide, you can take a few minutes to see there are a range of families who are receiving awards of tuition assistance. And that's important because it's not just one sort of salary range in the community that is entitled to award. We really do try to spread the award out, again, ensuring access to the greatest number of deserving children. If you are interested in applying to our school and seeking tuition assistance, we do a couple of things. First of all, you apply to our school and your admission application is vetted separate from your tuition assistance application. We really want to look at applicants on their merits for admission, and we don't muddy the waters by thinking about tuition assistance. When families apply for tuition assistance, we use a third-party vendor. We use TADS, many independent schools in the area do, and that's helpful because they have formulas and standardized ways of looking at income and apply an equal standard to how we evaluate a family's capacity to pay. We consider many factors, including mortgages, the number of children in tuition-paying schools, debt, all kinds of things. It does require that an application is completed. It does require tax returns and the sharing of W-2s, but all of that is crunched through this system, and we provide worksheets that help people understand what data they have to collect. We then get a recommendation from TADS, and we are then able to make an award based on that information. Our financial aid application deadlines for new families for this coming application season is February 1st, 2019. On the right side of this slide, you'll see a screenshot of what you can find on our website, which will allow you to go deep and ask questions. But I would also say pick up the phone and call us. We're always happy to walk families through this process. At the end of the day, there are a lot of pieces to consider when you're thinking about the right school for your child. Finances is obviously one of them, and we do everything we can to sort of make that this experience as accessible financially as we can. But at the end of the day, you're making a decision of a lifetime. You're deciding where will your child have his or her first experience with schooling, where they will build their confidence as a learner and begin to think about how they feel about teaching and learning. We know that if you pick Langley, your child is going to get a foundation that is remarkable, unique, and second to none. They will hop out of the car and race into the school because they're excited to be learning. And they will be enlivened and curious and excited to be in school. What we also know is if you inspire that kind of love of learning, if you get the skills, the academic skills and foundation right early, and they develop social and emotional skills to support them in their school years and beyond, you give them the gift that will last a lifetime. We truly believe that if you get the foundation right, anything and everything is possible. So please come get to know us, come to our school, ask questions, use our website as a resource, and know that we are here to make this process as easy for you. It's a pleasure to lead this school, and I hope you'll come visit us soon. Thank you.